Welcome to Trek Table, your live stream ritual.
Holding Trek space for
Black, Indigenous, Brown, women of color,
queer or otherwise,
and our allies.
Yes, and welcome to the Trek Table. We are so happy to have you join us for your Friday weekly podcast, Holding Trek Space, as our intro says, for Black, Indigenous, Brown, women of color, queer or otherwise, and our allies here on the Geekish Network. We're so excited today. So many things to talk about, like Willow sings, all the feelings. I'm going to go first. I'm your host, Dayla, and today I'm holding Trek space for the future, knowing about Admiral Michael Burnham.
I'm your co host, Claudia, and today I'm holding Trek space for slow motion hugs.
Hi, I'm your co-host Courtney, and today I am holding Trek space for making sure you know about all the short treks, making sure you know about all the information so that you can enjoy.
Yes. I want to invite everybody to breathe that in. We welcome you to the Trek table, and we like to start not only with what we're holding Trek space for, but we want to acknowledge that our teams for the Trek table are on the unceded land of the Tongva, the Chumash, the Quiche, the Ohlone, and the Puyallup peoples. We are grateful to the indigenous stewards of these lands and the ancestors who've come before, those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. We invite you, our listeners and viewers, to be an acknowledgement of the lands that you are on, and just to give us all one more big breath in. Go ahead, take that breath.
All of our music for the Trek table is lovingly supported by our favorite Chicanx rock band, Quetzal. Follow them at Quetzal Music on Instagram and see our show notes or the chat for a link to their merchandise and more.
We want to welcome everybody to episode 56 of the Trek table. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe we're here. We want to say thank you so much for showing up for this conversation with women of color as we dive head first into this final episode 510, Life Itself of Star Trek Discovery. We want to honor if that you're seeking a spoiler-free experience. We are not that place right now. We love you. We invite you to pause, go watch it, and then come back, because there are things to discuss. And we acknowledge spoiler zone is in full effect. And what we all know about this show is it's not just this episode of Discovery or this season of Discovery, but lovingly, it's spoilers for potentially all elements of Star Trek multiverses. And even
go
other
back and watch Calypso, the short trek.
Exactly.
We're going to spoil that for Courtney.
I love it. So yes, all the spoiler zones are in full effect. But if you do want to hear our takes on stuff and get a preview before you go and experience those episodes, we love that you're here. And we're so excited to talk about this episode 510, Life Itself.
We are so glad that you're joining this Black, Indigenous, women of color Star Trek conversation. Hello and welcome. So that we can build with each other, we'd love to know, how do you enter this conversation as a Star Trek fan? Are you Star Trek curious? Are you a newbie? Are you an OG Trekkie? Do you come from a Star Trekking family? Are you a Star Trek femme? Trek zaddy? Trek baby? Let us know in the chat.
Yes. Welcome back. I was trying to find a little bit of info. Okay, so today we're in episode 56. Welcome back from holiday weekend. We're going to talk tonight about episode 510, Life Itself, and directed by I have to pull the credit. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to pull that in a minute, but we'll talk about who wrote it, who directed it. I think it's Olatunde Onsansanmi directed this episode.
Yes,
Do we know who wrote this episode?
I don't know the writers.
Cool. I'll pull that in just a second. But so just know, we're gonna so much dialogue. All right. So welcome back to this episode. We're gonna dig into episode 510, Life Itself. I want to welcome back Courtney and Claudia. Today we're gonna explore this episode in a couple of different ways. We're gonna focus on this episode. We'll talk about the series finale-ness of it, but know that we'll come back and do a Trek table specifically about the full series. Tonight, we're going to dig into this episode, our final episode. We're going to do a little bit of popcorn disco recap. Claudia's got a great Trek table question for us. We're going to talk about all the design in this episode. So many elements of design that we get to jump into. And we'll round that bend in thematics. We'll do and talk about all the themes in the show. We're going to do a signal boost. And of course, we got to have our final thoughts on this episode. And we always like to end these episodes in gratitude. Okay. Sorry,
And I was able to find the writers of the episode. It's Michelle Paradise and Kyle Jarrow. I know it was Michelle, but I was like, who else? This was a twofer. And of course, last episode was directed by our boy Johnny Frakes. But I love Olu's work so much, so much. It's the perfect director to close us out.
For sure, for sure. And definitely Michelle Paradise as a co-showrunner. She and Kyle Jarrow, they've written several episodes individually. I think as Michelle's written several by herself. I think she wrote the very first episode of this season, if I remember right. So we're gonna get into all these things. We want to welcome our folks in the chat. What's up? We're so excited for folks here in the Geekish Network chat. And I want to go around and just start our ritual and ask folks, or continue our ritual and just ask folks to go around and check in. Tell us your name, pronouns, your access check-in, how you identify as a Star Trek fan. And I wonder, Courtney, if you could start us off tonight.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Courtney. My pronouns are she, her. I am my visual appearance. I am wearing Star Trek sweatshirt with the Delta which one is this? There's a Delta symbol. I'm not quite sure. I think it's Picard. I think I have the Picard on. Anyways, my hair is curly and I have a Star Trek background behind me as Lower Decks. I am definitely, I was born into the fam. My mom introduced me to the Star Trek world. And so I guess I would consider myself, celestially curious, because I love all of the star-filled shows. So anything with star in the title. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Welcome, welcome, Courtney. So glad you're here. And next I want to welcome Claudia. Can I invite you to go ahead and check in? Tell us how you're doing today.
Hey, everybody. My name is Claudia. My gender pronouns are they, theirs. You can also use she, her. Visual description. I'm an African-American woman wearing a shirt that says a disco. This is 100% Star Trek swag that I'm rocking for the final episode, Star Trek Discovery, that we're talking about. I am sitting on the deck of the original Star Trek Enterprise. And my access check-in is that I've got a little bit of allergies going on. So you might see me pull a tissue out of the console here. And I've also got my hot tea, Earl Grey, hot. I come from a generational trekking family. So it's a multi-generational Star Trek loving family. And I myself am poly sci-fi fantasy. I will watch anything, just make it up. I love it.
Welcome, welcome, Claudia. I'm so happy you're here as well. I'll go last. What's up, everybody? I'm Dela. My pronouns are she, he, they, and Dela. Visually, I'm a mixed Filipinx human with kind of a little bit of an Elvis hairstyle going on in tribute to my dad. And I identify as a minutia loving Trek head, which sometimes sends me down rabbit holes or black holes or Lagrange points, as I learned last week. And I also identify as poly-celestial, poly-sci-fi. I love all the stars. Today, there's a lot of I saw a couple of things that just resonated in some of the other star worlds that I am a fan of. So we'll talk about that. But I'll just say this podcast specifically was started because I fell in love with Discovery and Michael Burnham and her journey. And so Discovery is my sci-fi primary relationship. And I'm so excited to be here.
Final business before we jump into our discussions. We want to name the Trek Table Agreements. Welcome all who enter. Whether you're a newbie or raised in a Star Trekking family, welcome. Let's build this space together.
Whether you use your Trek Table as your nerdy exploration or as part of your self-care ritual, Trek Table is a weekly space to put down the world for a second and just come into the Trek space. And this space is a place for Black, Indigenous, femmes of color to be a fan, a geek, a nerd, and explore the vastness of the Star Trek multiverse. Trek Table is also a place for allies to come, engage, and explore as well. This is an opportunity for allies to hold space and focus on insights and perspectives that we may not be familiar with.
Now that we're all here, we remind you that we seek to build an environment of mutual respect and listening. We understand we're going to disagree, and that's actually part of the fun, but there's enough conflict going on in the world, so let's keep our phasers on stun.
Yes, yes. And so let's go ahead and breathe in those agreements. Go ahead, take your breath in and exhale.
So we begin with our first Trek Table question. We're posing it to our friends here assembled at the Trek Table and everybody who's in our Trek Table chat. What was most meaningful in Star Trek Discovery to you? The final big question that Michael Burnham is asked in order for her to make sense of everything is, what's most important to you? I'm curious, we've had 5 years of this amazing show, 5 seasons of this amazing show. What was most meaningful in Star Trek Discovery to you? Hey, welcome back. So this is Trek Table, question number 1. What was most meaningful in Star Trek Discovery to you? What I loved about this episode is that Michael Burnham was being brought through a journey so that she could answer that question. We've been through a journey too with Trek Table. What's our answer to the question of what was most meaningful in Star Trek Discovery to you? And I'm not going to call on anyone. I'm going to let this happen organically. We're going to feel our ways into it. Go ahead and just talk, respond.
I'll go. I will say what was most meaningful to me. When it started, I really enjoyed the fact that Michael was a human raised by Vulcans. And I think that it really set up the journey per se about this immersion of cultures, which is ultimately kind of what Discovery became. And it really was, for me, in my opinion, I felt like it was more opportunity to really get to know everybody and their backstory and their life story and their, who they are and what they wanted to do, while they were on this journey together. And I thought that really continued. I do think that we lost a little bit of her Vulcan heritage, unfortunately, but I do feel like she retained it in other ways, like very wise and stuff like that. But that was very important to me. And the journey with her mom, because she started this as an orphan, not feeling like she belonged to anybody. And so having that come full circle, and then A, finding her mom, and B, realizing Discovery was also her family.
One of the things I love about Star Trek is that in all of the different franchises, all of the different Star Trek shows, we'll discover these repeating themes and repeating story beats. But what I most appreciated about Star Trek Discovery was it gave me some fresh feminine perspectives. I'm going to be real. I think that if you're the star of a show, you have a little extra power, and that means you impact what's happening in the story. And if you look at the Star Trek movies, you can see William Shatner being like, can we have some more stuff about me and middle-aged men and their issues? Could we make it about that? And I feel like Picard was a lot the same too. And I like that this show allowed me to explore the amazing Star Trek questions, but through a feminine lens. Yeah. How about you, Dayla?
Thank you. Yeah, ditto, both of you. Like, yes, almost out of my brain, actually. I would add that for me, like, I love, yes, Burnham's journey. Burnham caught me. I realized when I found Discovery, I realized I had missed a part of my life that was about an artistic discipline, or like the repetition of a discipline. And when I watched Disco the first season, I watched, Burnham go through her journey, and it really just struck me like, wow, I'm missing something in my life. A part of my life that I remember I used to hold in terms of being a musician or being an artist. And I wasn't in a daily practice. I wasn't in a discipline about it. And over the course of the show, I think, in addition to the relationships, the leadership journey that we've been on, the restorative justice journey that we've been on, that this show is trying to show us different ways of being in a Star Trek verse. And just really loving, yes, Michael and her family, and her humanness and her Vulcanness, and then her being reconnected to Mama Gabrielle. And just when I try to hype the show to people, I'm like, she's a second generation time traveler. She's all these things that we've never had before. So, and then I think like just in this episode, and like where Michael lands with Book, and that they reconnect with Molly, who we meet at the top of season 3, just and Michael's disco family, and that we got to see found family on screen in really active ways, and that it was queer, but it was also open and absorbing and welcoming of the, almost like Discovery means family to me, like in that same kind of, Lilo and Stitch kind of way. But like, yeah, just realizing that the journey that these characters have been on, and just watching Michael's leadership change and the interaction with different, often male captains, often white male captains in the show, has also been super transformative. So I feel like Disco reflects back to me the robust, diverse life that I feel like I'm trying to live right now. And I've never felt that in Star Trek fully. I've always felt like I've had to piece myself in. And so this episode definitely reminded me of, even in the opening credits, they threw the Red Angel back in. I don't know if folks caught that, but like we hadn't seen that suit in a long time. So just, yeah. And that just time is everything and nothing. So
It's so true.
Wait, who is Molly? You said top of season 3.
Molly, at top of season 3, when Book and Burnham first meet each other, he's trying to protect that transworm. And
oh, right.
And he names her Molly when she eats, or when she swallows, or I don't know if she swallowed Burnham. She said that she's...
Yeah, she did, because she spits her out and she's covered in slime and spit, and it's really funny. Thank you for saying Molly's name. Thank you for asking about Molly, because we see so many of those transforms at the end. There's something about that's like pro, I don't know, environmental rights. I don't know. There just seem to be like all of these different notes in the show that reaffirm things that I think are important about the universe that I don't think I've seen in previous aspects of Star Trek. I love your responses to this question. Audience, I am curious, what has been most significant or most meaningful to you in Star Trek Discovery for you? I'm realizing I gave the wrong answer. My answer is Trek Table. Trek Table has been the most meaningful part of Star Trek Discovery for me. It's the first time I've done a podcast where I've had women of color to talk about Star Trek with, who also like to get like all deep and talk about decolonization. Come on. So yeah, thank you, Trek Table. Thank you, Star Trek Discovery, but also thank you, Trek Table. And that was Trek Table question number 1.
Making me cry over here.
Issue.
All right, and we are back. That song Matanzas by our favorite band Quetzal is the theme music for Disco Popcorn Recap, the part of the show where we try to retell the plot of this episode in chunklets of plot, and usually we try to squeeze it into 2.5 minutes, but this episode was an hour and a half long, and so we're just going to be loving and gentle with ourselves and give ourselves 4 minutes to try to recap it. It may not be long enough because so many things happened. But we're gonna do it, and we're so grateful. Rodney, our technical director, is gonna give us a 4-minute clock this time. We're just
4
gonna
minutes
have
to save the world.
for sure 4 minutes. All right, I believe it. I can achieve it. I can see it. All right, let's take this breath in and exhale. And Rodney, if you could give us 4 minutes. All right. Michael Burnham enters the portal. We see her sit up and realize that she's in a mysterious place with a bright light ahead. She falls through a window into another world. She fights a Breen there, and she uses the hurricane winds and the computer's lead up so that she can run and leap up the mountain back into the platform in this world between worlds.
Michael thinks that she is safe, but another Breen attacks her, and then Maul appears out of nowhere and shoots the Breen. Why are they fighting? I don't know. Michael convinces Maul to work with her, and they head towards the bright light.
Meanwhile, on Discovery, they're navigating debris, and the Dreadnought, the Breen Dreadnought, is sending out fighters. They're going to get them, and they only have an hour before Primarch Tahol comes in their ship and kills everybody. And so Book is like, yo, I'm going to take the shuttlecraft, and I'll grab the portal, and Acting Captain Ray Ray, he's going to fight the Breen with everybody on Discovery. And then Dr. Culber's like, there's some mysterious reason that I have to go with you, Book, and so he totally goes with them.
Meanwhile, back at Starfleet headquarters, Ambassador Saru and Security Officer Nan, what's up, Nan? They volunteer to intercept the Breen Primarch Tahal, and Admiral Dad, aka Admiral Vance, is like, "Ooh, good luck, y'all."
Michael does not trust Maul, so she preemptively attacks her. They fight in a purple forest, and then they fight in Fireland, which is not Mustafar, but looks like it. Michael meant to say, I have the high ground. Anyway, Michael says, let's stop fighting and work together, and Maul agrees. Michael uses her smart brain to discover a special secret entry point into the negative space in a big room full of flowers and the progenitor technology.
Then on Discovery, the bridge crew, they're talking about how they're going to use all this smart science, and they're going to use it to like explode the space around them, and then that's going to get rid of all the Breen fighters.
Meanwhile, Saru and Nan pull up on Primarch Tahal like, what's up? We have no weapons. And she's like, you crazy? And he's like, a badass action Saru, negotiator Saru in full effect. And Nan is like, yeah, dude, I see you.
Michael and Maul are in the room now with the yellow flowers, and it is a clear table that has triangle pieces. Maul looks at Michael like, what we gonna do, girl? You know what to do? And Michael's like, I don't know, but we should take this back to the ship so we can figure it out. Maul's like, girl, I ain't got time. So Maul knocks Michael and starts to try and puts the puzzle pieces together on her own. But girl got it all wrong. She throws Michael on the ground, does the puzzle piece, gets locked in the machines, like, and then the place starts to explode.
And then Discovery shoots the 3 torpedoes in the air, and that makes a big explosion happen, and that destroys all the Breen fires. They're just like, yeah, but then, oh no, that shuttle from Primarch Tahal, that shuttle is going to come, and it's going to do bad stuff.
For sure. And then Saru's like a badass and says all the stuff to Primarch Tahal and is like, look into my eyes. Am I scared? Because I'm a predator, and I've been watching you like prey. So I was like, all right, I'm about to go. And Saru and Nan head back to Discovery.
The portal is being sucked towards one of the black holes. Cobra mysteriously knows exactly what setting they need to set the tractor beam so it can hold on to the structure. The tractor beam saves the day.
And then Michael, she wakes up getting knocked out by Maul, and she hears Book's voice being like, we got you, we're not going to leave. And then she pushes Maul from that platform, and she tells her real quick, because she's really good at puzzles, and then it transports her to this other dimension, and then boom, it's a progenitor, and the progenitor's a black lady, and their species has been extinct for billions a year, but somehow they're able to connect their minds in this liminal time space.
And now we understand that the progenitor technology will only bring someone back to life, but it will restore their body, but not their personality and their lived experiences. The technology is too powerful. It could build an entire army, and it's very dangerous. So this technology and we also learned it wasn't invented by the progenitors. They discovered it in this like place between the worlds.
On Discovery, Sue tells bridge crew about the scout ship that Tahal ship is on the way, and they can't let Tahal see the dreadnought. They decide to do a dangerous spore jump that includes the dreadnought. So they split Discovery in half. They got the top half, they got the top disc, and then they got the actual ship, and they spin it around and catch the dreadnought in there, and then they are going in this technobabble, and the Breen ship goes into this galactic barrier. Captain Ray Ray does an inspiring speech.
And then Michael, she's been like told, you're in charge of all of this super duper important progenitor technology. And she's like, I'm not even sure what to do, right? But she's gone through this entire like journey to like be the person who can make the right choice for this dangerous technology. So the alien's like, what's most meaningful to you?
Meanwhile, Discovery has split saucer section, ship section. They've been able to jump the Breen ship to the edge of the galaxy. Michael returns to the present. She takes her hand off the tech and it turns off. She wakes up Maul and explains that Locke cannot come back. They have a moment and then they escape because Book and Culber are able to beam them onto the shuttle.
And technically our 4 minutes are up, but we're going to continue,
Yes,
right?
we're
Yeah.
almost there.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah.
They have made the biggest scientific discovery of their lifetime. Michael met a whole progenitor and saw the last 4 billion years. She realized the universe already has infinite, diverse, and infinite combinations. The universe does not need this technology anymore.
And Michael's like, we got to let this go. And Stamets is like looking wistful because he won it. And Dira's like, yo, didn't we learn a lot? Isn't that the important part? And I guess the lesson is we don't need plot resolution. And they throw the technology beyond the event horizon of the wormhole.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Book goes to visit his sibling Maul in sick bay. She's gonna have to go to space jail. She's like, I don't want to hear your speech right now. He's like, I just came to hear how you are. Book talks about his journey and how he found his way again. And he says to her, if you ever need me, I'm here. You can call me. In an unearned kind of emotional moment. And after she leaves space, and like Book asked Nan, like, how long is she gonna be here? She's like, well, after she's here, I'm gonna take her to Kovich. So we're like,
So we're probably gonna see her in section 31. Michael meets Kovich. She offers the infinite she offers the infinite symbol back to Kovich. He says, keep it just in case. Behind his head is a Cisco baseball, Jordy's visor, and Picard's Shakespeare book, etc. Kovich is a code name. She's like, that's not your name, right? And he's like, no, girl, that's a code name. And then she says, like, well, what's your name? I want to meet you. And his name is Agent Daniels from Enterprise. He's a time agent. Boom.
Now we're at Saru's wedding. We're suddenly at Saru's wedding. It's super pretty. Tilly's like, oh, I'm going to start a mentorship program. Then later, Book and Michael, they go talk. They go to this beautiful beach. It's very romantic. His sentence is commuted. They admit they're still in love. They kiss. They declare their love to each other. That infinity signal thing goes off. It's like, boop, boop, boop. And that means Kovich wants her to go on a mission. And then she's like, you want to come with me, Book? And then they go on a mission together.
Blackout.
Time passes.
The tea kettle goes off. And it's just like, hello? Where are we? Is that Novar? I don't know. Red trees, alien sounds, weird looking fox deer? I don't know. Vibe, skip forward 30 years. Burnham is gray, but her hair still looks fly. She's happy. Book is there. He hands her that tea. We heard the kettle going off, and they living in a beautiful house. Ooh. Their son is a captain, so happy and idyllic.
Burnham and her son, they travel to Discovery. Zora is being put on a special mission for Kovich. It's a red directive mission. That's a thing now forever. And her plan, they're like, you have to go to this place. You got to wait alone for somebody named Kraft. Maybe it's Aldous Hodge from that Star Trek short. And this is how we got that Star Trek short
that Courtney didn't see.
And that
I just spoiled for all of you.
And that was our popcorn recap of episode 510, Life Itself.
If you can't tell, I am a little bit bitter with myself that I did not research that well.
So many things happened.
All right, welcome back to Discovery Design. So many things to talk about in this episode. There was this world from the progenitors. There was a wedding. There was the future in the future. Gosh. So many things. So we're going to flow with it. I'm sure all of us have different things that we're going to remind each other. And I just want to start the dish on my background in this video today. I think I realized I saw this shot this is a promo image from Discovery and Paramount Plus and CBS Studios. And I discovered, and I'm all down near my mic, but this shot, I saw it in the episode. So I just want to say, what I love about Disco is the way in which they give us Easter eggs in promo images. They give us Easter eggs in the opening credits. And I just want to say, if you watch the opening credits for this episode, yeah, the Red Angel is up in there. And it just kind of explains all the alls. And we see the progenitor tech all back in its one piece. So my opening on design is just to acknowledge the design that's come out of the Disco Fam Bam and Paramount and CBS to kind of help us navigate through this season and the end of this series. So I want to do that. Courtney, I'm curious for you, an element of design that stuck out to you this episode?
Wow. So this episode had a whole lot of, and I was captivated by the Star Trek World Between Worlds. It was very beautiful. I made the joke about the fire world looking like Mustafar. It did, but it also didn't. It was definitely its own thing. I loved all the vibrant colors. I loved all the moments that they were able to create, just with like the look of a room, and the way that they change certain things. But my favorite design element, and I mentioned it in the Disco recap, is that fox deer. The fox deer is my favorite. I'm sorry. I was like, what's she, Bambi? Bambi, what you been doing? Fox deer was great. I'm sorry.
What does the fox deer say?
Exactly. What is the fox deer?
For sure.
She was having a whole conversation with that fox deer. Like they knew each other.
She
was
named
like,
her Alice. She
you
called her
broke
name.
into my house. Yeah, named her, gave her a whole name.
I love it. I love it. Jumping us over. Claudia, I'm going to come to you. One of the design things that stuck out for you, a couple of the design things that stuck out for you this episode?
Costumes. Well, I'm just going to say this, actually. Let me just do like a larger level observation. The lighting design, the costume designs, the special effects. I feel like they were like, this show's over. Let's spend all the money to make it look like the best thing that's ever looked good in the universe. So that's what we got to witness. I feel like I think they put their foot in it. I want those outfits. I want some of the outfits I saw at the wedding. I want to cosplay as a future Starfleet admiral with those cute ass outfits. I want the cute armor. Just so many cute costume elements. Love it, love it, love it.
Yes. Costumes, yes. Courtney, I want to pick up also on what, like, both of you are reminding me, like, to see the world between worlds, to see this progenitor landscape that then we find out wasn't made by the progenitors, it was made by somebody else. I was waiting for a runway walk, even though like it wasn't a solid walk all the way through. People kept falling through stuff. And I was so fascinated by like the flower world that we ended up with. And just like, yeah, all the beams of light. I mean, if you've ever flown into Los Angeles International Airport, we have this interesting public art piece that's like all these sticks of light going towards the airport. And it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So yeah, I feel like that was all off the hook. Can we talk, as Claudia, as you mentioned, costumes? Yes, all the costumes, yes. And can we talk about Saru and Tarina's wedding? Like, we didn't see the ceremony, we just saw the party.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was the first time I saw Tarina's ears.
I think so.
Right? Because of the way her veil was up. Like, first of all, I don't know that I've ever seen a Vulcan wedding or a Vulcan bride outfit. So I was curious about, and then like, were they in silver? Like Saru was in silver and Tarina was in gold. So it was just fascinating to see them like super dressed up and in love. And I think it was also one of the first times I saw them kiss. They don't kiss a lot. They do a lot of other like gentle touching. So yeah, so I'm just curious reactions about the design, like, yeah. So just offering that. Courtney, I want to come back to you. Another thing or other things that you saw design wise in this episode that were vibes for you?
I really loved that cabin and the look. I loved like the shift between her when her son's uniform when he arrived, that shifted and changed. And I loved, like the way that, first of all, he was fine.
Programmable matter.
I mean, he was real fine. There's that. And then there was also in the wedding, everybody had different uniforms on. And I thought that was really like, these are their Star Trek dress, quote unquote, dress whites, like the Navy has their dress, or all the military have their dress out uniforms. And it was really nice. I don't think I've ever seen like a dress uniform that wasn't even in like, when Ariam died, they didn't wear dress uniforms for the funeral, So it was really nice to see that. Yeah, I think that was really what struck me. Yeah,
for sure.
I'm gonna be honest. Oh wait, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I can't say that I was disappointed disappointed by the way that the puzzle worked out. I was a little annoyed that I figured out it was a triangle in the middle of a big triangle in the middle of the middle ones, the little ones. I was a little annoyed. I'm like, okay, I figured y'all were gonna go for a Delta looking situation, but I was a little salty. But yeah.
I'll say this. I loved the how the progenitor technology, that space was it was technological, it felt super futuristic, but also felt deeply, deeply organic. So it had like lots of like plant elements, all of this stuff. I could tell that they were saving themselves money by using the same sets and giving them different like lighting elements and stuff. But like I liked that. That actually impressed me. It didn't make me feel like the show was being cheap. It made me feel like, oh, you can transform different elements to look radically different. But I love the organic nature of it. And my opinion is when it comes to the wedding, that's my place where I have a complaint. That reception room was small. Excuse me, President of Olive Navarre, one of the most important ambassadors in the universe, right? They have a lot of friends. That room felt small to me. That felt like a very intimate space where I was like,
it was a tent. It was literally a tent.
It was a tent.
And I was like, is that a hollow? Is it a hollow room?
I will say this. When I saw Saru's headquarters, when like his room, I was like, ooh. I did not get the same vibes for their wedding reception. I was like, oh, it seems like you just like put some white flowers up on the walls and like called it a day. That said, the outfits were really fly, so that made it for me.
It did, but I agree with you. I never felt like they were on Navarre. I felt like they were still on the base somewhere. And for as much as Saru loves flowers, and not just one flower, like colorful, vibrant flowers, you had one color that was a little frosty. You know, I concur. I agree with that. I will say one thing I did realize didn't mention, Tornado Town. I loved that little tornado town. I really enjoyed watching her, like the way that they used that space and kind of made it like she found a way to use the wind to jump back up. I thought that was clever.
And the position she was in her body reminded me of Red Angel shots that we saw in the Red Angel season of like, I guess that was season 3, right? The frozenness of her kind of, and also it looked like she was flying, right? Like I love that.
It did. She gave me Super Mario vibes when she
did.
Like, you know, when he's in the you know what I mean? Then she goes back up to like and go
for sure.
And then when they were in the fire world, I was singing what was it? Dun 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 dun. They were totally having fights. They had so many fights. I did
that. You were doing that.
Yes, the fight song from Star Wars. Exactly. They were. Yeah, like I thought I was going to see Anakin for a hot second.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
I love the yellow petals falling. Like there were moments where I was like, oh, you're doing something that's pretty, but it's like referencing aesthetics. Like petals falling is often like representative of wistful moments, things close. And I was like, oh, I see you, Discovery, with some of these choices.
Okay, can I ask you yeah. I need to ask a Black women hair opinion. How did you feel about Burnham's hair at the wedding? I had a little moment. I recognize I have no expertise or a right to have an aesthetic.
You don't know. In the future, that is fly.
For sure. I just didn't understand why the braid.
The swoop.
So I didn't understand the gap between the swoop and the crown of her head. That was my only question.
I think that Michael Burnham has bad hairstyle ideas. I think she made choices that I wouldn't have made for fashion.
Well, here's my thing. I completely blacked out. I have hated Michael Burnham's hair since the pilot. It is very rare. Like I think this season's braids are the best because she has very short hair. So those are all wigs. All of them. Those are not, and some of the wigs are not fantastic. This one, you know, this season she did a really good job. So I didn't want to complain, about this last final win, because I love the Marge Simpson hair, the Sister Simpson hair at the end. I really like that. I like that Simpson hair. Because she gave me grandma vibes, you know.
And I loved her and Book aged and watching both of them be great. I was like, yes,
yeah.
hello,
Yes, he was
elders.
every daddy.
He was
every
every.
daddy. He was every
Y'all,
daddy.
y'all, I was like, I'm having inappropriate feelings for this aged up. I'm like, I'm not into old dudes, but okay. Okay, for a second with the shaved sides and come on with it. But also the makeup they did, like, I just think that just good job, Star Trek, for figuring out how to do aging makeup well, because we've seen a lot of Star Trek characters be aged up and they all look like ridiculous bloated monsters. And in this design, they were like, oh, we're not going to add a bunch of like fat makeup to make the character seem like they bulked up over the years. They just changed like what the skin. I really liked it. Was subtle and it was smart. And there's a shot. They had a lot of fancy shots in this episode. The director, again, everybody was putting their foot in it. The director was like, this fancy shot, this fancy transition shot. But that shot where it transitions from her being on the bridge, being like, oh, I slow-mo hugs with everybody. And then it like transitions back to her old face. And I was like, ooh, subtle, nice makeup.
Yeah, did you see that Owo and Detmer were there?
They were. And so was Bryce.
Yes, Bryce.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when I started.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally started crying when I saw Owo. I was like, oh my God,
I was like, they made it back for the final shot. Okay, great. I did feel like I would have liked to have seen Tilly. Like, it's great to see they had a little son and whatnot. He was real cute. But it would have been cool. I think I would have got a little bit more emotional to see aged up Tilly pick her up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Longest serving.
Send her on her way.
Longest
and they
serving.
could have mentioned her son, like, he's over in What You Jig and we got a kid. Great. I didn't need to see him.
And I just want to say in the chat, what's up, Sci-Fi Queens? Yes, echoing, they loved her hairstyle. Yes, the grandma hair was beautiful. Book is aged like a fine wine. Yes. Or like a good kimchi, right? Ferment all that goodness. Come on. And her son is fine. He does need his. I'm more interested in a Leto Burnham Booker. Like, that's their son's name, Leto, like his nephew who died, right? I'm interested in that.
Oh, I didn't even realize. I knew there was a significance for Leto, for his nephew.
For sure. I was like trying to hear, like, what did they name him? Because they went a long time without saying his name. But I think they named him Leto, like his nephew. And so part of me was just like, what's his last name? Is it Burnham? Is it Booker? Like, what is the son's last name? Like, Captain what? What do they call him?
Can I give one last shout out to I could talk about design stuff all day long. This episode had so many design elements in it. Again, I think they were like, let's spend off the budget. But I loved the final shot of the dots. Roddenberry didn't want there to be robots in his Star Trek. Like, that was like a thing for him. And I respect Roddenberry for that at the time. But I think that we've had enough time. And now Star Trek can have cute little robots. And I love them. And
they were fixing the outside.
Goodbye.
The little little BB9s, I'll call them. Little BB9s.
Yeah, that's what Roddenberry didn't like it, but I love it. And that was one of the final design elements that I saw. And then of course, like the final shot. Like the spore shot. That's a cool spore drive shot. I miss it.
Yeah, now that you all have explained to me, and I will go back and watch that short trek. I have feelings about her just leaving the ship in the middle of, like, this discovery came from a completely different era. And I have feelings. I have feelings that you just dropped it off in the middle of the woods.
For sure. And I want to honor your feelings and say, when we come back and talk about the series as a whole, after you've had a chance, and do you want to just, so shouting out that if folks hadn't seen the short trek, as you named earlier today, Calypso, that's the episode that the end of this episode is referring to. So if you haven't seen it, we spoiled it a little bit, but I do want to say, I think you're going to get the feels when you watch it. And I actually, now I'm like, oh, I got to go back and watch that, because I feel so much differently about Zora. And I guess just the last piece of it, yeah, she's a whole being unto herself. She's in Starfleet, right? We got that this season, last season. And so, yeah, there's so much to talk about, and I want to hold that space, Courtney. Like, yeah, I'm glad that you're going to get to see that. Um, so many great things there. And I know there's more for us to talk about, but I also want to keep us moving in this process. We've talked a lot about design because this episode had so much design in it, and I'm so grateful to that. And I want to say for right now, these are our thoughts on disco design. What's up? What's up? Welcome back. I'm just replying to some folks in the chat. All right, we're in thematics. This is the part of the show where we like to braid together these conversations. We spend a lot of time in design, and I think it sets us up to really jump into some of the thematic parts of this episode entitled Life Itself. I always love how the writers find a way to pop the title in the dialogue, and to give us ways to think about it in these broader ways. There's so many things I feel like happened in this episode. We see some of Culber's spiritual journey come to a moment. It doesn't really honestly fully complete. We get to see how Burnham and her life and Book's life, where they land 30 years into the future. We get to, yeah, as we were just discussing in design, like we get to see that the narrative connection to why Zora's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And those are just some of the things. I mean, I definitely have some other stuff I want to talk about, but today I think I'm just holding on to thematically. Yeah, what is it? One of the reasons I really love Star Trek is because it is about exploration. It is about scientific inquiry. It is about what connects us, and like, what are these not only theoretical ideas that connect us, but like, what are our human to human connections? And as we said in Trek Table question number 1, I also love disco because it helps me see the connection between people as we think about leadership, as we think about community, as we think about role models and restorative justice, and justice practices, right? And so, yeah, I guess the last thing I'll say before I toss it to you, Courtney, is just I found it really powerful and interesting that we get to a moment in the show where Burnham actually has to make this decision about what to do with the tech. And there's something there to me about her ability to be able to let it go feels like a very disco response to not trying to perpetuate colonialism and imperialism, and like, let me create something in my vision. And I feel like what I heard our progenitor say is that she's the one who realized when she became the steward, there wasn't enough life. And so she was looking for infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And I think I'm just fact checking and asking you both, is that what happened? Or did Disco just say that literally the progenitor who made all of these other life forms was this steward who we met?
I think so. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I got.
So I love that.
Yeah.
In a very like sci-fi way, a Black woman again is our origin place, just
Mother
like we have here on Earth. And so, just shouts out to Disco for that. So that's kind of my opening swash of this episode. There's so many things to talk about. Courtney, I'm curious for you as you jumped into this episode, what are some of the things that stuck out to you thematically?
I I agree with you that Disco's journey has always been about looking for your place, trying to find where you fit, like where you belong. And even from the beginning of Michael's origins, like, I talked about it earlier. She was a human kid raised on Vulcan, and then she was the human girl who wasn't a Vulcan, but acted like a Vulcan and didn't connect well with her team, and the things that kind of shifted. So watching her and the connections that she made with people throughout the seasons and reconnecting with her brother, season 2 for me is still so powerful, because I feel like that was when we really got to see the real, like we uncovered a major layer of who Michael Burnham is and why she is the way that she is, and and understanding this series, that when it started, and I said this before, I think on the first Trek table that I was on, every other Star Trek follows a captain from the beginning. And so you meet his whole crew, and everybody is cohesively, basically introducing themselves and resonating and their piece within the puzzle of this crew. And we followed the narrative from the perspective of Michael Burnham, which is something that I heard of because she was the XO. She was the number one. And we've never followed a number one. So for like the criticism, and I was among the critics I was like, why? She is flawless. Well, how can she be this perfect? She gets everything right, but she doesn't. It's not so much about what she either gets right or gets wrong. It's okay to follow the narrative just from her perspective, because it's literally her story. It's like we're listening to her Stardate log, like that every captain would have, that James T. Kirk would have at the end of every episode. Stardate log, la 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 la. This is what happened, and this is what I learned. So I do appreciate being able to follow an XO through their journey to become a captain, and to not just become a captain, but resonate within themselves. I have earned my captain's share, and I have confidence that I am the correct captain for this chair. It's learning to believe in yourself, not just the connections that you build along the way. It's learning to trust yourself and boldly go, because I think that's what she did.
For sure. And yes, to bring up Spock and like all of the season 2, and like maybe when we get into the series discussion, we could talk about whether we feel like disco exists in 2 different kinds of shows, what season 1 and 2 and seasons 3 through 5, right? I love that drop. Claudia, I'm curious for you, things that came up for you in this episode as you think thematically and respond to what we got in this episode.
Well, I appreciate Courtney's observations, because Star Trek Discovery has always been a little meta. It's a Star Trek show that was made by people who have never lived in a world that does not have Star Trek in it. But also it was made by people who I think were trying to solve some issues that they thought that Star Trek had, or fill some gaps that Star Trek had left wide open. It wanted to serve some Star Trek audience members that had not been getting fully served. And I think also it was fighting some people who wanted to make Star Trek something it never needed to be, something it never was. I do think that there's some people who will love a cultural project, but they will want it to be the white male centric kind of conservative thing that it sometimes was in a 1960s shape. And Star Trek has to be progressive. That's part of the DNA of the show. So Discovery, it had to have all of these things. So in this particular episode, I felt like they were teaching me a lesson. And the lesson they were teaching me was, they were like, Claudia, you weren't watching Star Trek Discovery for the story. You weren't doing that. Did you actually care about the MacGuffin? No, you didn't. You didn't care about the MacGuffin. And you know what? You know this mystery, this entire mystery that you wanted to know? Not only is the person going to be like, oh, yeah, no, we didn't invent all this. We found it. And now it's still a mystery. We're going to have Culber literally be like, I have no idea why this just happened. I guess mysteries are beautiful.
And a few weeks ago, I would have been really uncomfortable with not knowing, but I'm great right now.
Can I just say that I did have that moment, like you, Claudia. I justified Culber. I don't want to jump in. I'll finish I'll save that for closing thoughts.
I'm here for it. I'm here for the conversation. And I do think that the mystery is beautiful. I do love that. There's another, I think, through line that I don't love, that I think they put a lot of energy into in this episode. I think that one of the things they were trying to do was to make us feel satisfied at all of the character endings. And so they wanted to be like, and this character cared about this, and then they did it. So you know how Captain, how First Officer Ray was kind of hard with vulnerability and stuff, but then he did it. And he also made a reference to the first episode that we saw him in. One of the through lines is a carceral through line. And I don't know if I'm comfortable with it. You named it as a restorative justice through line, Dela, and I want to be there with you. I want to say yes to that idea, but I don't think going through a carceral justice system is the thing that helps you to get good with yourself and others. But that's the story that Star Trek Discovery tells me. It's like, oh yeah, Michael messed up, but then she went to jail and and then she was fine. Oh, Book, he messed up, but then space jail. Maul messed up, space jail. Just like, so if you have more ideas around how it's actually restorative justice, that'll help me be more at peace with that.
For sure. Go, Courtney.
Okay. I actually agree. I think that honestly, I'm surprised that Maul made it through this ending to go to space jail. And I think that given her character, what we have known of her, everything she has done has been hot-headed, impulsive, impetuous, and just arrogant. Like everything that she has done. So for her to get zapped, be passed out next to her, the boyfriend, she fought so hard for it. And for Michael to come back and be like, yo, girl, I saw to her. She said, I mean, I could bring his body back, but it's not going to be his mind. And for Maul to just be like, okay. That was uncharacteristic.
Thank you.
That was uncharacteristic. You wanted it to be nicely tied up. And I understood that. But for her to then be still, okay, sitting in the chair, I'm going to jail. Boo-hoo, I'm going to jail. I don't want to talk right now. I'm not feeling you, but I'm listening. Keep talking, but don't go too far, but I don't want you. Nah, I needed to see her like chained to a chair, fighting back. Like, this is the girl you gave me. That was the one thing that I really thought that I needed. Not that I wanted Michael to kill her, but like that there was a consequence to the actions that we have sat through for these 10 episodes.
And I will lovingly pull out my phaser on stun and have a Star Trek disagreement with both of you. So I don't completely disagree. I know, for sure. Dun, dun, dun. So I don't completely disagree. I will say that. I agree. Maul's ending, what I saw was Burnham just said, there's no way to bring your boo back. And then Maul was like, wah.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think Book didn't just go to space jail. Book went to space, like, to go and do
community service.
He did community service. So he didn't go to space brig with the window. Go to jail.
Yeah.
And I actually feel like, and Burnham was on her way to more jail when she got pulled onto disco by Captain Lorca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will just say Burnham was not incarcerated in a traditional sense. There was always a community service work camp kind of situation. Burnham's whole moment on Sadisco is like science work camp. Right? Like,
see,
hey,
I knew you were going to fix this for me. I'm feeling better already, Dayla.
Okay,
Keep talking.
Yeah, she did go to jail. She did.
She was in the lime green for sure. As they waited to, and then they transferred her. Right? She was in that lime green jumpsuit or the blue dress jumpsuit, whatever. It felt like it changed colors. So yeah, she was in prison, but I think the parts about disco around restorative justice is that we saw in the episode with Mama Gabrielle as a sister of the Quat Malat and her journey with the person who took on her cause and then went and protected the spaceship with the babies.
Last season, yeah.
So I think Javini is the name of that Quat Malat sister. So I just think we've seen more examples in Discovery of alternative ways to resolve harm and to be restorative than we have in other Star Treks.
You just turned it fully around for me. I love it because now you're making me think of Ash Tyler's journey.
Exactly.
Okay. So
he didn't go to jail.
I really appreciate. Yeah, he didn't go to jail. I really appreciate you, Courtney, naming your dissatisfaction with Maul's journey and storyline. I think possibly that's why it was triggering me to be like, I'm not sure about this carceral journey, but I'm with you now. Star Trek Discovery, gives redemption arcs to
Mhm.
characters.
They
Mhm.
do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
Can I-
see, yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
Can I possibly offer a fix for the Dr. Colbert psychic
Yeah.
moment?
Yes, I have a thing
Because
with, go ahead.
yeah. So from the moment he hosted Janal fully took him over. Fully, like went in, and like I think he had time to like really get in there and planted a couple of little nuggets, that he needed for him to come back and use later, because he knew he only had like 30 minutes, you know what I mean? Like an hour to be sharing information, but there wasn't any way for him to tell her, oh, and you're going to need these coordinates, this time, or this actual connection number in order to make it work. He couldn't tell her that, because then he's giving her more information than she even needed at that moment. But he planted a seed, and Colbert knew from the very beginning that there was something that was off when he got back, even before he left the location. So
Before
I do think, so I do think that what he was searching for, trying to understand, there's something different about me and I don't know what it is. Something has changed. And it's like literally he had that Elphaba moment. Something has changed within me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was about to sing that with you. Yes.
Yes.
Come on,
And he was trying, and he was trying to really figure out what is that thing. And so when Book was like, yeah, I'm gonna go, he was like, oh, it's like remembering a memory that you don't really know is there, but it's like right on the tip of your tongue. Like, try and remember that word. Like you can almost taste it. It's like right there. It's like, oh, but I think if I go with him, I think that I'll be able to figure this out. So I was okay with that. I was okay with him.
Yes, and I fully recognize there are so many things, like we could just have another hour on thematics and like all these bookends, all of these loose threads. I feel like they were setting up Colbert for something amazing. I feel like the Colbert Stamets spirituality science was gonna pay off in season 6.
That part. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Maul, okay, we're mad about Maul, but then to have Kovich be like, there's something about her. She can get stuff done. I was like, season 6.
That part. Yes.
So part of me is just like, I see where we could go in season 6 and 7. And I wouldn't be mad if they ever decided to reboot and come back and like tell us, because
Star Trek Suicide Squad.
For sure. Like there's just so much. And then like Tilly, like part of me is like, is this new Academy show gonna show what I haven't read up on the stuff about what time period we're in. And so part of me is just like, I want to see Tilly more at Starfleet. So I know there's a lot for us to say. And thematics is always where we dig in. I just want to say thank you all for your Star Trek opinions, because I have, you all know I've had a couple moments where I was like, should Book even stay with Burnham? And now I'm like, thank God they did. They have a baby. He's so hot. You know what I mean? So I just want to appreciate that our evolving relationship with the show, and seeing, and then our decision as a table to not watch ahead and to try to pace ourselves with the weekly, I think also allowed us to experience these things in these ways. So I just really appreciate all of y'all's opinions. Thank you to our friends in the chat. What's up? Some people got to catch up. They don't even know about First Officer Ray. I see you, Chuck. And that's okay.
Due South. He's from Due South. You're gonna love him.
For sure. And so I just want to say, Trek Table, we want to keep having these discovery conversations. But for right now, I'm gonna wind this down and just say, for right now, these are our thoughts, insights, and reflections, reactions, and that was thematics for episode 510, Life Itself.
We strive to hold space for Black, Indigenous, Brown women of color. Here are some resources that amplify and highlight the work of women of color content creators, community builders, and world shapers.
Yes. We want to invite you all to join Trek Talk, live streaming on Thursdays, where Maya Mama, who's also part of the Trek table, plays Star Trek video games, has fun conversations with guests about Star Trek shows with co-host our very own Claudia, and organizes awesome Trek rankings discussing everything from favorite captains to crews and which crew would be the best in a heist, all those kinds of things. You can check them out starting next Thursday. If you wanted, you can find Trek Talk on live stream Thursdays at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on the Calling Up Justice Twitch channel.
If you know a woman of color, content creator, community builder, or world shaper that we should amplify, drop it in the chat or reach out to us on Instagram at Trek Table.
All right, and as is the case in every episode, we like to round things up with our final thoughts. And I know we've had a lot of big thoughts today. And so I'm going to come to you first, Claudia, and invite you to start us off. Your final thoughts on episode 510, Life Itself.
Every time Star Trek, there's another Star Trek, it has to top all of the previous Star Treks. So it's not surprising that the final episode of Star Trek Discovery was about life itself. I think they understood that there was no way to satisfy all of us. And so they helped us to, they gave us a plot that was about us understanding that it's actually the journey that's the point. And I was a little annoyed that they did they did two things. They gave me a Lord of the Rings kind of an ending that was just very goodbye, and now another scene where everybody's saying goodbye, and now another scene where everybody's saying goodbye. But then they also they gave me the gift of knowing that everything turned out all right for Michael Burnham. And in many ways, I relate to Michael Burnham harder than I have to any other captain. But I will admit, I was mad at how they ended Sisko's story. I didn't like that they left Sisko's children. I don't know what happened with them. I didn't like that. So even though I had a little bit of attitude and I was like, why are you doing a Harry Potter ending where you want to fast forward to the future and tell me everything that happened to all the characters? Let me have some headcanon, please. But also, I like that they guaranteed that Michael Burnham got to live a full, beautiful life because she deserved that. And I like that for her and for me and for all of us.
Yes to that. Courtney, I want to come to you next. I know you said earlier you had something you were going to save for final thoughts. I don't know if that's the same thing or if you got a new one or if you got both. All the goodness.
Well, so I'll say this one thing first, and then I'll go into my final thoughts in terms of what you were saying, Claudia, about the MacGuffin. I am a huge heist / treasure hunt / you give me any kind of puzzle that needs to be solved. That I love. Those are my favorite kind of journeys, because you get to see the best of your teammates and how you can come to the resolution. So when you get to the end and the Virginia was like, oh girl, I don't know who made this, we just found it, but we did use it and we created the world that you know, and everything is okay, and it turned out great. I did have a bit of a, what? You mean to tell me I have journeyed across all these space miles and you're gonna tell me you don't know who did it? Girl, we need to talk. But at the same time, it was a fleeting notion, because I realized that even though this season was about that treasure hunt / journey, does not make up the entire series. It is not the end all be all, the journey in and of itself. And I always hate that whole, it's just the journey. Sometimes you just want to get there. and I am someone who has done I've done 4 marathons, and I understand about the journey. Sometimes you just want to get to that finish line and know that everything works out okay. So I did appreciate, like Claudia, knowing that Michael Burnham and Book were okay. But more so for me, I I loved the moment where I got to see all of the crew together, the OG crew. As much as I like Michael and Book, Book just came in season 3. I'm sorry. These people came across like 900 years. So for me, that moment where you get to see everybody there joyously reconnecting and like celebrating, that was the crew moment that I needed. Even though they didn't necessarily, progenitor lady didn't tell me who made it, I got to see the entire crew reconnect and they made it.
Slow-mo
So
hugs.
slow-mo hugs and music. We all look great in the soft lighting. That was my like, okay, I'm cool. So it was less about those little nitpicky things. And it was more about I would have loved to see Michelle Yeoh pop up, you know what I mean? But obviously, she won an Academy Award, so you know what I mean. We get her when we can.
She making a movie.
So I again, I've already stated that I would have preferred to see Tilly and Michael because they started this journey together. Like her being Michael's roommate. Like, you remember that one time when you showed up and I was like, you gonna kill me in my sleep? You know what I mean? Like, because that's literally what Tilly thought, and it's just to see where they have come. And it's the beautiful way that you show the female friendships, you know what I mean? Like, and just the bonding that these two went through over the course of these 5 seasons. So yeah, overall, I was really happy with the series finale. It tied up nicely, and I appreciated Michael's arc more than I thought that I would.
Yeah. Yes. I appreciate that for sure. And I thank you both for going first because I had a final thought and I forgot it. And then while y'all were talking, I was like, right, that's what mine is. And I'm going to just build on what y'all said and just say, I love that at the very end of this show, we got a Gene Roddenberry Easter egg in the infinite diversity and infinite combinations, which is very much a part of, I feel like, a lot of the Star Trek communities that I'm a part of. And I love that she said it. I love that she acknowledged that it was there. And I will say I had a moment, across the franchise moment of like, please tell me, and then the spoiler alert for Loki, please tell me that she is not going to be like Loki and have to hold on and be a steward and protect the universe for the rest of her existence.
Yeah, I was about to be mad about that. I was about to like throw some popcorn and be like, nah, you're not going to leave this woman stuck here in this like neither world.
So I will just say, as soon as I heard the word steward, I was like, oh no. And then the way that they resolved it, that she was able, and just watching that last scene of them in the ready room having a conversation about how she's like, I'm about to, like, I've been given this choice and I want to let it go. We don't need it. And having Stamets kind of have his little reaction, like, what are you talking about? And just watching the little argument that was happening and just watching Burnham be like, stop. And like, she wasn't loud. She just said the word and everybody stopped. And she looked at them. She's like, the progenitor said, I get to choose. This is the moment in her life that she has been waiting for. She saw 4 billion years of existence. And here finally, this woman who has jumped through time, been a 2nd generation Red Angel, who has saved the universe, multiverse multiple times, has sacrificed so much as we think about her journey. I just really was so grateful that, as you were saying, Claudia, that she got her happy ending with Book, and that after all of this service to us, to her universes, to her time periods, to her crew, to her family, to her people, that she was able to rest and enjoy, as she says in her speech to her son, it is about our journey in our life and how we spend our time and who we spend our time with. And I'm so grateful that this show ended in allowing this amazing Black woman character to rest and to reap the benefits of her sacrifice and her work and her growth, so that it doesn't end as a thank you for being a sacrificial lamb to give us all these things, but thank you for your service, Captain Michael Burnham, Admiral Michael Burnham. Thank you for your service, for this goodness. you get to have goodness. And your goodness can go on, not only through the family you have through Discovery and all of their things, but you also now have this physical manifestation of your next generation through your son. So I just want to say one more time, thank you, Soniqua Martin Green, for your service. Thank you to the show for your service, for giving us a future where women of color get to rest. And those are our final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery, episode 510, Life Itself. All right, we are at the end of the show. We went a little bit longer and a little bit longer than we thought, but we have made it. We just want to say thank you so much here at the Trek Table. This show, we always want to end in gratitude, and this podcast would not happen. These conversations would not happen without the village of our support. And so we just want to say thank you. And if you want to, come and find us at trektable.com, sign up for our mailing list and all the things, or find us on Instagram.
Trek Table, yep, okay. Trek Table graphics provided by our original graphics partner, Arthur Wong, and our new partner, Digital Click, a SoCal-based boutique marketing and design agency. Learn more about them at www.digitalclick.com.
Like and subscribe and follow our partners, the amazing Geekish Network, on Twitter, on our X, Facebook, IG, YouTube, and for your podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite app.
Like and subscribe to us on Instagram at Trek Table and YouTube. You can find the Trek Table podcast on Apple, Google, the high seas, wherever you find your podcasts.
And I just want to say such gratitude, Claudia and Courtney. Thank you so much for your opinions, not only your Star Trek opinions today, but over the course of these last 10 weeks together, exploring this show, bringing Trek Table to Geekish Network, and particularly for today. I just want to thank you both so much for your insight and your thoughts. And I want to say thanks to everybody in the chat for joining us. And Chuck, don't worry, you can still learn about Officer Ray Ray. He's there for you to watch. And I also want to say a special shout out and thank you to our technical director. We would not be on air without you. Thank you so much, Rodney.
Trek Table executive producers, thank you to Trek Table executive producers, Allison De La Cruz, and our partners at the Geekish Network, Rodney Cahuho and Charles Babbs.
Yes, and we want to say deep gratitude to our content partners at Calling Up Justice. Don't forget Trek Talk next Thursday at 4.
Trek Table is a service mark of De La Projects, LLC.
Yes, we want to say thank you for joining us at the Trek Table. We will not be here next Friday, but we will be announcing when we'll be back, because we do want to come and talk about all the series, the whole series of Star Trek Discovery. So find us on socials, track us on socials, because we want you to come back and join this conversation with us. But for right now, I want to invite us to just close this ritual for today and just have us take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Ooh, all my disco feelings are here, but don't worry, we're going to see you soon, and we will be holding Trek Space for you until then. Have a great week.
Live long and prosper.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
How are y'all doing?
Hey,
I
everybody.
was rocking out to Quetzal. Sorry, y'all. I was just rocking out to the Quetzal music.
Yeah. Y'all have good music on y'all's podcast.
We are grateful for it, for sure. Oh my gosh, I just have to say again, Claudia and Courtney, thank you. Rodney, thank you. Chuck, thank you.
Yeah, and y'all
And-
did your first season, the
and
first
thank-
season over with on actually the Geekish Network. Thank you all for being here. You know, I feel as
Thank
though I need to
you,
catch
Dayla.
up watching this show, because I came in, I was like, wait, First Officer Ray Ray, what's going on here?
Caught that too. I was like, huh? Where are we at? It's like Boys in the
Man.
Hood, Trust Star Trek.
Oh, I'm
When
so
we
far
recap it, yes.
behind.
Yeah, when we recap it, we go hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
They
do.
took a trek around Crenshaw. We got Officer Ray
Ray
Ray or
Ray.
something. I'm like,
Sure.
what's going on? What's going on
I thought
here?
they were gonna have the Boys in the Hood motion
Mhm.
where
Right, like-
what's his name gets shot and he's
Yeah.
running off.
Ricky.
No,
For sure. Disco's a
Like-
lowrider and it separates.
Right.
It separates, has hydraulics. I'm excited. Like, okay, I'm excited about this show. Heard about babies and everything. Like, what? I need to
Oh my
catch
God.
up.
Mhm.
I do
need to-
too.
I
You
need to
know,
catch up.
I was gonna say, Dayla, you know how in the beginning you always talk about how like you identify as celestial, curious, and
Mhm.
I figured out I am a proud member of the Celestial Sci-Fi sorority.
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm
Celestial
feeling
Sci-Fi
this. I'm feeling
sorority.
this.
Celestial
CSS.
Sci-Fi sorority, the CS, no, SF,
Mhm.
Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like SCIFI.
Yeah.
Now you got to
Oh.
find like the Greek letters for it. All right.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody
Now,
coming for me. That's
y'all,
why I
I'm-
said
They're gonna
Sci,
come for you now.
SCIFI.
I'm loving being in this space and just taking every piece of my self-control to just not leave you midstream to go watch all of season 5 all over again. I'm about to that's what I'm about to go
Wow.
do.
Mhm.
Star Trek Discovery rewards a rewatch, and I'm really curious about if this final season is going to give me like that. All I know is that every time I have rewatched a season of Discovery, it's been like you know how like you age a wine and it gets better. It's like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
It's like chili 3 days later.
Oh,
Mhm.
really?
Mhm.
That's how I feel about
Yes.
season
Okay.
2. I have watched season 2
Chilly
so many
3 days
times.
later.
I don't
Mhm.
even know how many times I've watched Discovery
Mhm.
season 2.
Mhm. Yes, my cultural
Wow.
reference would be it's like adobo. It's always better the
That's-
second or
Mm.
the third day. Like let that
Lasagna.
stuff marinate for sure. Let it soak in it. Let the juices go. Like let all the flavor crystals move. Like all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, no, and I know I think I said it in the show. Maybe I said it in the pre, but just excited that Bingeworthy is also gonna go and watch Discovery season 5.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's
Um,
next week.
Yeah,
Next week.
Wednesday,
Um,
right? Wednesday night.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I
Wednesday.
won't be there, but I wish I was. I have to
You
catch
won't
up.
be there.
I haven't caught up. There's no way I can catch up. I gotta watch a whole season this
Okay.
Did
weekend.
you finish
Okay.
season 4?
No, I'm still working on
Oh!
season 4 too.
I saw
Oh.
that y'all watched Dead Boy Detectives, though.
Yeah.
I fully binged that. I watched it in one sitting. I was like, let me
Mhm.
watch one episode, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm watching all of them. It's catchy.
Yes, it's good. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is an interesting Neil Gaiman show. This is very CW-ish. It's so good though. It's so
I
good.
love
A
Neil
little better
Gaiman.
than CW, wasn't it? It wasn't
Well,
CW.
CW had great shows. We're gonna not bad mouth
Great,
CW right now.
great.
Great.
I think we're
Listen,
being,
Oh,
I think we're
I
being
did
generous.
enjoy CW. No. Don't get me wrong. I
Mhm.
enjoy a CW show. Love me some Vampire Diaries. Love Smallville. You know what I mean? But I did think that this might have had like just a tick higher.
I will admit that this is embarrassing. I bought Smallville on DVD for like 5 or 6 seasons, and finally I
Oh,
was like,
that's true.
Claudia, you need to stop spending money on this. Why? Why are you doing this? Why do you
Yeah,
allow
that's
it? I would argue that Dead Boy Detectives does not have some of the same repetitive conservative
They don't.
story tropes that you get in CW shows, but it
That's
does
true.
have cute young actors having teen
Mhm.
adventures.
They nailed it. They nailed it. I enjoyed it. I'm like, I hope that world crosses into the Sandman world.
That one.
And I want to see that happen. I hope he's building his multiverse around this. Because apparently all his stories are in the same universe. So
Mhm.
Yeah, they are. It's the licenses agreements. Like Warner Brothers owns them. So Netflix buys this, Warner Brothers buys that, they buy this. It would be great to get them all to coalesce into one universe. It's just it's the business of show
Yeah.
business that may be preventing that.
Can I ask, how did it end up rating? Did y'all give it a full meal or a binge, or how did it? Do you remember?
I
Can you
think
tell
it was a full meal because I think we were two.
You were split,
binge
weren't
outs.
you? Yeah,
Yeah,
two
we were
binge
two
outs and
binge
two
outs
full
and
meals.
2 full meals. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And like, yeah, I love the rating system. So I'm like, yes, I've been meaning to watch it, and I saw it on the list. So I was like, oh, I gotta, yeah. Now that disco has gotten us to where we are, I'm like, okay, I have a little bit more time to watch things and process.
I would have
love
gave
it.
it a binge out.
Ah.
I
Yeah.
would have gave it a
So
binge out.
And Claudia, it sounds like you actually binged out on it. So
I
would
did,
that be
Me
your
too.
rating? If you could rate it, like, is it full? You would recommend other people to binge out on it?
I think it works well for a binge. Like, I think some shows you can't enjoy them in one sitting. You need to give yourself time between them. This show, you can just watch it all.
boom, boom,
and
boom.
and I
Okay.
think that Neil Gaiman makes work like that. That's easily digestible, but it feels like you've gotten something good out of it. It doesn't feel like it's light work. I enjoy the universes.
Yeah, the characters are really relatable. And I think that helps that you want to know where their outcome will land
Mm.
because you really feel connected to them.
Mhm.
Similar to like disco, like
Yeah.
very
Speaking of which,
connected.
are we getting a season 2 of Sandman since we're talking about Neil
Yes.
Gaiman?
Yes.
Okay.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, they've
Okay.
released the actors, released the names of the actors playing the next siblings of the Endless, of Morpheus's siblings.
Good
Yes.
stuff.
It
That's
got
good to hear.
renewed. It made it.
No, that's good to hear. I'm glad because I know it was on the fence. It did well, but it's pretty expensive, and so it was like, does the cost equal out to the viewership? So I'm happy to see that it got a second season.
Mhm.
Well, Netflix got that deal with Neil Gaiman too, so they paying him a lot of money.
Yeah.
And maybe that ties into it. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta
think
do
so.
huge numbers because we're paying you a lot of money.
Yeah,
You
that's
know
right.
what,
True.
my fingers crossed wish list, if there is a way to get Tom Ellis to reprise his Lucifer role, and I know Gwendolyn Christie did a lovely job, but it could be like angels can present themselves in any way they want to,
Any way they
in
want,
any
that would be
form.
dope.
So if we presented Tom Ellis as Lucifer,
Did
that
any
would
of
be
y'all
everything.
watch the DC TV shows? Because they would do
Yeah.
these like sort of like epic episodes where it's like all the characters, and they finally did one where they crossed over, and
Yes.
it was so
Yeah.
satisfying for Constantine and Lucifer to be in the same space. I was feeling it and loving it.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
fun.
that was great.
Well, that's a Fox property. It's all
Yeah,
these
totally.
licenses that's
Yeah.
like all
Companies
over the
get in the
place.
way of
Yeah,
goodness.
right. They're getting in the way of good art. So yeah, I want them
Mhm.
Like
all to be
Sony with the
together.
Spider-Verse.
Oh my Lord, yes.
Well, for X-Men, the cartoon though, Sony let them use Peter Parker for Flash in the X-Men cartoon. So that was kind of cool for them to do
It
that.
was.
Yeah.
See,
so-
this is where I get all of my additional geek news, nerd news. Like, I appreciate y'all so much because I'm like, right, I gotta watch all this. I gotta go back and see that.
Mhm.
All the alls here. I'm so happy to see you all. We haven't seen y'all in a couple weeks. Are y'all about to do?
know.
There's some geek news today that y'all
There
gonna
is
jump
some geek
into.
news. There's
It's
some
always
big geek
geek
news
news.
today.
Yeah, it's always
Excited
good
for it.
news.
We're talking about popcorn buckets.
Oh, I
You
saw
got-
that.
Do you got?
Like a
Well,
Doom?
I'm
Like a
just
Doom?
throwing it up. Yeah, I'm just throwing
Yeah,
it out
like
there.
Deadpool, right?
Do you
Yeah.
all want to
Deadpool's
hang?
making fun.
Do
The
you all want to
Dune
hang
2
out?
popcorn bucket versus the Deadpool.
The
Oh my
Deadpool.
gosh.
I
Okay,
wish I
that's-
could. I cannot tonight.
I'm
But
about to say, do you all
I'm
want to
gonna
hang
listen.
out?
I
Okay.
can't
Bonnie, you want to
tonight.
stay on to talk about
Oh,
popcorn
you wanna
buckets?
I'm
stay
so
on?
sorry. I got to go to my karaoke party. I got to
Okay,
go to a
that's fair
digital
enough.
space where I become a cartoon character and sing pop songs.
I mean, we'll let
I-
you
I
do
need a
that here
meal.
too. We'll let you do
If you
that
want to
here
sing
too.
pop
It's
songs, we'll
happy
gladly.
hour.
Right,
We get
we'll
the party
gladly let
started
you-
here.
For sure. I mean, we could just choose an avatar, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Right?
yeah, we'll let you do that here too.
I would love to come on another Friday. I would definitely eat beforehand. I like it. Oh, I want to do it.
Okay.
I want
Hold
to
on, hold
do
on.
it.
All right, hold on. Let's see what we got.
I chose the panda because
Oh, that's so interesting. That's so fascinating. Oh my goodness. That's so
Mhm.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow, y'all are killing me. Y'all are killing me.
Well, let me.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna start
I-
doing office meetings like this.
Yes.
Y'all, here's a trick. If you just hit stop video on your camera, it keeps it there. So if you ever want to if you ever want to be like, I just want to like play a video game during my meeting, make yourself a cartoon character and then turn off your camera.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Pro tips. I love
I
it.
know
Oh my gosh.
that's the pro level.
That's right.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Amazing. I love this. I love that we're in a communal animal space together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Celestial animals.
Celestial animals.
Celestial animals.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This is the best.
This is the best way to end the
Geekish
show.
Network.
It
Geekish
is.
Network.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Rodney's rolling his head at us right now. I'm like, come on, guys. Come
Sure.
on.
And like maybe this is how we do the show our stuff podcast. Is that we turn into our avatar self.
Yeah.
This is I'm gonna be ooh, I
Nice.
got a hoodie on. I'm gonna rock the hoodie.
All right.
I
Oh,
love
this
it.
is great.
For
Oh,
sure.
man.
Well, I'm so
Oh.
glad that we got to hang out with y'all. It's been so this
Yeah.
is so and then yeah, just the beauty of like being animals, kicking it.
Being animals.
Kicking it.
Just out here being an animal.
Yes. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
on my
come on.
animal on vacation right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, now how I change this back?
All right.
Break all the legs. Have a great show, and I can't
Oh,
wait
yeah.
to watch. Like, it's gonna be great.
All right. See you all later. And thank you. It was a beautiful
Bye.
show. Again, we celebrate today. It was excellent. Excellent. All I kept
So-
saying to myself, we got to increase our production value, Randy. We got to increase our production value.
Dayla
killed it.
came through.
What's the next Star
Here's
Trek
a
project
tutorial.
coming out?
Lower decks.
Lower decks.
Lower
Lower
Decks.
Decks.
Final season. Yeah.
I got to catch up on that too. Don't hate me.
Yeah.
I'm almost done
No.
with season 2.
No hate. It's good.
Oh,
Lower Deck
man.
season 2 is that where my favorite episode
Claudia's
is?
looking at me like I feel sorry for you.
I have to start now.
Oh,
So
it's
I
Oh
can
my
watch
gosh.
all the seasons.
I don't feel sorry for you. I feel jealous because now you get to watch all of them. I wish I could be
Yes.
fresh and watch them again for the first
Oh,
Oh
time.
man, that show is so good. It is
Mhm.
so
Yeah, it is.
good.
Mhm.
It is so good.
Yes. I definitely
And the-
feel the demographic of that show.
They shouldn't end that show. They should
No!
just keep it going. It is the Simpsons of Star Trek.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yes.
Again, it's the business. It could though end up on Netflix. I feel like a whole bunch of things are going to end up on Netflix.
We're seeing that now.
Right,
I like
that's what
the
I'm
Netflix
saying.
Today is like, where all these Warner shows come from?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's still a chance.
hmm I
Yeah.
love it. Well, I look forward to all the things and so happy to see y'all back. And yeah, it's about to be June. I can't even believe it.
I
Yes.
know.
I know.
Yes. June
Wow.
is here.
We got an
Mhm.
election coming up in November. It's gonna be
Mhm.
Kind of,
interesting.
sort of. It's going to be very interesting.
I wonder, like, could he like campaign from jail, like at the debates?
Well, according to the history thing that I read, someone did campaign from jail. I think it was in like 1920,
Yeah.
I don't
something
know.
like that. Yeah.
I'm for that.
But-
I'm all for it.
Criming while white.
Reporting from
But-
Cell Block 8,
Oh my God, the
Republican
tango.
nominee.
No, he has to do. Yeah, he has to do cell block tango. But the theory, everyone thinks he's just gonna get community service. Since
Yeah, he's not gonna.
Hashtag,
Yeah.
hashtag criming while white.
I just like the possibility. I like thinking.
Yeah, I
about
want
it.
to see him
do.
do. I want SNL to do him doing the cell block tango. Yeah.
I have a joke about a diaper, but I'm gonna leave it there.
Oh.
I'll say this: I'm an abolitionist, and I'm torn. I'm deeply torn.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
With that, thank you again. I appreciate it so much.
For sure.
We're not
for
going to talk
sure.
about that guy right now.
Yeah,
That guy gets enough talk.
for sure.
Stay tuned. We're going to talk about popcorn buckets.
Oh gosh, I can't wait to find out more.
Oh, yes. All right. See you all.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.